Hope you all can see my screen.
We can, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Hope you are having a wonderful day. Thanks for making up your time and attending this session. Today, we are going to discuss about beyond chatbots, unleashing the power of chatbots, conversational AI, and postbot in the digital era. As the title suggests, this is AI generated, but not the content. A bit about myself, I am Jithin. I work as a principal QA with Tyro Payments. I lead the test automation and tooling team at Tyro. So for those who are not across Tyro, Tyro is a Sydney-based firm which provides payments and terminal services to small and medium businesses. We are a quality team of around 15, and we do quality advocacy on a microservice level, as well as end-to-end and automation on areas where it is more of a customer-facing. On a personal note, I live in Melbourne near the beautiful Dandenong Ranges, and I like playing badminton, and I even broke my nose last year while playing a tournament.
Ouch.
So this topic has been formulated by discussing with various AI developers and enterprise architects who have been involved in developing various AI products. Special thanks to team at Telstra, Postman team to help me out to draw this content. We are going to discuss about some key terminologies in AI, some of the key AI products out there in the market, as well as we'll try to correlate that with the testing, as most of our audience are into the testing space. Before we start the topic, I hope you guys have used all these voice assistants out there, Siri, Alexa, Cortana, Google Assistants. What do these voice assistants have in common? You can put your answers into the chat if you want.
So Daniel has posted input, output. Has anybody else who has a view on the question? Nilan Bhattacharya said voice recognition.
Okay. So yeah, they all provide we need to provide an input, they provide an output, they are all voice recognition. They are all chatbots. Ultimately, all of them are powered by female voices. Happy International Women's Day to all the wonderful women out there. Let's look at the agenda for today. We are going to discuss about chatbot, its types, conversational AI, virtual assistants. We are going to look about Amazon Q. We are going to look at the differentiation between RPA and AI. Then we'll look at postbot and prompt engineering. Before we start the topic, let's look at this Venn diagram to understand AI a bit more detail. So AI is an umbrella term, or it's actually a discipline similar to physics. So there are three major substreams under AI. The first one is robotics. I haven't put that in the Venn diagram yet. It refers to design and development of robots. You might be seeing robots like Ameka, Sophia. They are all examples of robotics. In the testing world, you might be seeing robotic arms for terminal hardware testing. The second key area is natural language processing. It refers to a machine's ability to understand human language and respond back in a natural language way. The spam detection in emails is a good example of natural language processing. Wherever we see humans talking to a particular machine and getting an input is actually an example of natural language processing. In the testing world, there are so many commercial tools out there coming up, which is where we can actually input in a human way and it gets converted into test cases. The next and the major important stream is machine learning. It denotes a machine's ability to predict outcomes and make decisions. The postbot, which you are going to see today at the end of the demo, is an example of machine learning. A simple example would be like, okay, predicting the real estate prices in Sydney for the next financial year. That is a simple example of a machine learning. There is a substream for machine learning, which is deep learning. It involves a machine's ability to imitate like a human brain. So you might be seeing examples where there is object detection, facial recognition are involved. They are all examples of deep learning. So the vision for autonomous vehicles like Tesla, the chatbots, voice assistants, language translation, they are all powered by deep learning. You may be seeing around the term around large language models these days. Again, our popular AI tool called ChatGPT is actually powered by GPT 3.514. It's again a large language model. They are called large because they are actually trained on large amounts of data. The last year, a key terminology has come up called Gen AI. It refers to a machine's capability to generate large amount of text, audio, video, code, or even movies on demand. The Amazon Q, which you are going to see in the upcoming demo, is an example of a Gen AI chatbot. Now we understood some of the key terminologies out there. Let's see what is AI hallucination. As testers, we might be raising bugs every day for all the product issues which you are finding. In AI world, whenever AI makes a mistake or it actually makes up an output and tells it to the user, it's called hallucination. As per the research, actually, the AI can hallucinate somewhere between 3% to 27%. That means 1/3 of the AI output could be wrong. So let me bring your attention to a recent incident which happened with Air Canada. Almost 2 years back, Air Canada has developed a chatbot and put up on their website to give basic information to passengers. A person came in and he wanted to look up for a bereavement discount. If you are not across this discount, if some of your dear ones is critically ill or they passes away, you can actually get a discounted rates for your flight tickets. The chatbot told him, okay, you are eligible for this discount even after 90 days of your travel. He believed the chatbot, he purchased the ticket, but later learned that it wasn't retroactive. But the good thing he done was he took a screenshot of the chatbot's information while booking the tickets. He called Air Canada. Air Canada offered him a $200 discount. He was not happy with the discount. He actually went to the civil court and filed a case against Air Canada. Finally, almost a few weeks back, actually, the court has ruled in favor of the passenger because the actions of an AI chatbot is similar to an agent giving an information to a passenger out there. Finally, Air Canada has took down the chatbot from their website. And moral of the story, treat your AI chatbots like a similar products which you are developing in your company, else it will result in hallucination, financial damages, as well as reputation damage also. Let's look at what is chatbot. A chatbot is a simple computer program that simulates a human conversation with an end user. What are the classifications of chatbot? You might be seeing so many classifications out there. On a high level, you might be finding rule-based chatbots, which operates on rigid decision tree style menu navigation. They are simply called decision tree bots. There could be another classification, which is called AI-powered chatbots, which make use of machine learning and natural language processing to answer your queries. So what's the problem this chatbot is trying to solve for you? It actually trying to reduce the BAU operations a company is having. Let's say if you are running a call center, you are getting a call volume of almost 5,000 per day. Half of them would be basic queries which you can get in their website. So these kind of information can be sent to a chatbot and customer can easily access the information. The Klarna has developed a chatbot recently and they have actually advertised it last week that they were able to reduce the effort of 700 customer service agents with the use of their chatbots. So now let's look at the history of chatbots. Now we know what is a chatbot. Now let's look at where they have emerged. In 1950s, the Turing test was invented, which denotes a machine's ability to imitate like a human. In 1966, the first chatbot got invented, which is called Elisa. In the last few decades, many chatbots have come into picture. In 2010, iPhone has released the Forest, which they come up with Siri, which is again our voice assistant. So many other companies followed the same tool, developed Alexa, Cortana, Google Assistant. In 2016, Facebook has released messenger bots, which can be used for business purposes where customers can ask any business queries. In 2020s, IBM has released IBM Watson, which could be helpful in developing chatbots internally for enterprises. Finally, in 2022, OpenAI has released ChatGPT. And after 7 decades of chatbots being in the industry, now we believe that AI and ChatGPT is taking away our jobs. Let's look at the first classification of chatbot, which is the role-based chatbot. If you're actually based in Australia, you might be using Optus. If you're actually visited their website, you might be seeing a similar chatbot. It asks you a basic query or a greeting. After that, it asks you to select a sales or a customer service track. Based on the sales track, if you select it, it actually asks you to enter your email. The salesperson may get contacted to you, or it actually schedules a meeting. If you are unfortunately selected the support track, it asks you additional questions. So what's the problem? Is it happening on your internet or a broadband? based on which visitor selects a response. Either it gives an article lookup or it gives you a specific information. I have given an example from Lufthansa chat assistant as well on my right, where I ask for baggage allowance. It's going to give a very brief information from their website. Again, the problem the role-based chatbot is trying to solve is again reducing the BAU operations. How do we test this role-based chatbots? Again, it can be tested like any other simple product because it has got a predefined input and an output. You could run an automation using any UI automation libraries or tools out there in the market as well. So we have seen the actual rule-based chatbots. Let's look at what is AI-powered chatbots. When I had to talk about AI-powered chatbots, I had to talk about conversational AI. It combines the power of natural language processing and machine learning, which we saw it in the initial Venn diagram. You think about ChatGPT, it actually you can actually converse to ChatGPT in a natural language way. It actually makes use of a machine learning algorithm to process your inputs and actually give you back a response. It also learns from the frequent inputs and outputs as well. Few examples which you can see in the industry are our AI chatbots like ChatGPT, voice assistants like Alexa, Siri. They all make use of this technology called conversational AI. I have given an example of a real-world application which is called Shifty. This is developed by Lufthansa Airlines. If you're not across this airlines, this is an airlines which is based in US. They operate most of the major flights between US and Europe. They have an innovation arm called Lufthansa Innovation Hub. They figure out that this travel booking industry is a bit fragmented. People might tend to look towards agents in order to book the tickets, or they might spend quite a bit of time searching through the internet, finding a good option for their flight booking. So they developed this particular application so that people can book the tickets using a chat interface, as well as they can book the hotel tickets also if required. Let's look at in action what this Shifty is trying to provide us. So I already signed up for a Shifty account and I have logged into that application. So once I log in, it's actually going to give me a similar greeting, just like if you are going to a travel agency and getting a ticket booked in. It asks me what is my preferred date and times for my departure. I told the Shifty, okay, I want to book the ticket from San Francisco to Sydney on March 20th and back on March 25th. Shifty asked me, do you have any preferences for that flight booking? I told, okay, I need it in the morning time. It actually summarizes the data for me. It's a very useful feature. And I said, okay, this is the specific booking I want to make in. Once the booking has been confirmed, actually, I get a few flight selections as well. I selected the cheapest option as well as the one which is having the lesser time frame also. Then it gave me the return flight option. I selected the cheapest option, which is there at the top. Once I made the selection, it actually gave me a confirmation summary. And based on which actually I can make a payment as well in their website. The problem that the Shifty is trying to solve is, again, it actually trying to reduce some of the time frame which you're actually trying to book a ticket. The technology which is used to develop the Shifty is they are making use of GPT-4 in the backend. They are connected with Expedia for hotel bookings because this application allows us to book the hotels as well. It is connected to a travel partner so that we can get access to most of the major flights between US and Europe as well. And now next, the major question here is how do we test this AI-powered chatbot? This testing, even to functionally test this particular chatbot, it requires quite a bit of functional knowledge around the travel industry, technical understanding of how large language models are going to work in, understanding of third-party applications like Expedia, travel booking, and all. From an automation testing point of view, there are a few commercial tools out there which tend to actually automate these kind of conversational AI chatbots, but I haven't tried it out yet. Let's look at the AI virtual assistant. We have seen through some of the voice assistants out there which could be used for our personal use case, Alexa, Siri, Google Assistant, or Cortana. Now let's look at the virtual assistant out there which is used by enterprises. As I mentioned in the history of the chatbots, IBM has come up with this powerful tool called IBM Watson, which is used by enterprises to develop enterprise-level chatbots. Telstra has created a virtual assistant called Darcy as part of the T2022 program. So if you are not across what is Telstra, Telstra is one of the major telecom providers based in Australia. They got around 28K employees. So normally some of the issues which HRs were facing was people tend to reach out to HRs to get basic information regarding their leaves, long service leave policies, how much of the leave balances they are having. So the HRs figure out that most of this information is available in the workday, and they could actually build out a chatbot in order to solve this basic issue. Finally, they went on a transformation journey, built out this chatbot, and you made it useful for the employees out there in the Telstra. Now, at Telstra, they define various levels for these chatbots. If you look at the screenshots down here, the first conversation here is about, okay, which of these leaves you want to know about? I said annual leave. It might give you some policies as well regarding the annual leave. In the smaller screenshot, which is there, I'm asking the Darcy, okay, how much leave balance which I'm having? The Darcy is going to give me, I got 191 hours of leave balance pending. So the level 1 would be grabbing basic information from Workday. The level 2 will be grabbing some of the personal details. And these days, with the advent of large language models, Gen AI, they're actually planning to upgrade these particular chatbots in order to serve customers their employees in a better way. So they're actually upgrading this feature to include compliance trainings, sending out automated reminders to managers to approve timesheets on time so that employees get paid, and applying leaves through the system as well. Now the most important question comes in: how do we test this virtual assistant? Again, these are all developer tested. Currently, they have separate matrices around how do we want to test this kind of virtual assistant. From a user testing point of view, they actually take care of two major parameters. They are looking for high containment in the sense, the ability of the chatbots to answer queries within the chat. Let's say I asked, how much is my annual leave? Okay, give me some information. Then I'm going to ask whether how much is my leave balance for the next subsequent year. It should give you the answer as well in a proper way. The next thing is the high coverage actually. So it's the ability of the chatbot to answer individual questions in a proper fashion. These are the UAT or user testing which is done on these specific chatbots. And as part of their new Gen AI programs, advent of the large language models, these features are getting upgraded slowly. Now let's look at the coding assistant. Before we start the coding assistant, I just want to know how many of you are already using coding assistants as a workspace, and what's the coding assistant you guys are using? You can put your answers onto the chat.
Thanks, Jithin. I'll read them out. So this includes a chat on both Zoom and the chat on YouTube. If you can just list the coding assistants or generative AI chatbots you're using at the moment, I'll read them out. So Alan Jacob says, or Jacob, sorry, says GitHub Copilot and Google Duet AI. Any others? All right. Cursor IDE. Matthew Chitisa, sorry, said Cursor IDE. I'm not familiar with that one. I'll look at that one. Aman Kamboj says Codium and Cursor IDE. Nick says Microsoft Copilot chat in Edge.
Okay.
That's great.
Thanks.
It's a great list there. Thanks. Do you want to carry on, Jithin?
Yeah. So let me introduce you a important feature which is developed by Amazon, and it was actually announced in the reInvent 2023. This is called Amazon Q. This is actually a Gen AI chatbot. On my right-hand side, you could see the Amazon Q's chat window. It helps us to answer frequently asked questions as well as to troubleshoot some errors for you. So if you're a DevOps person or if you're a tester, you can ask any basic queries to this chatbot. I can't access it to an EC2 instance. How do I list some of the micro instances in my account? These are the simple queries which you can ask the chatbot. And from a business point of view, it can be connected to data sources like Jira, Slack, and Zendesk for reporting and business intelligence purposes. And the power of coding assistant comes in when it's actually combined with Amazon Q and Code Whisperer. And again, similar to the coding assistants which you guys are already listed, it is actually as powerful as GitHub Copilot and Tab9. The only difference is that this Amazon Q, when it's combined with Code Whisperer, is available for free of cost in the personal version. It's not actually a paid tool in the personal space. It has got a code transformer capability as well. As per the AWS reInvent 2023 keynote, AWS internally migrated almost 1K applications in 2 days from Java 8 to 17. If you are thinking about the upgrades in various languages, you might be doing Java 8 to Java 17 today, tomorrow maybe 17 to 20 and 20 to 21. You will keep on going in an upgrade loop. And this is a very unique feature which came out from Amazon, which helped them to even migrate even 1K applications in 2 days. Normally, we can develop, we might be able to migrate even one application maybe in a 1 or 2 days only. Let's look at this Code Whisperer in action now. Hope you all can see my VS Code. Thanks. So it's this Amazon Q with Code Whisperer is available in most of the popular IDs out there. So I'm going to demo it from my favorite ID, which is called VS Code. You just need to download this extension called AWS Toolkit, which will contain few options like Amazon Q, Code Whisperer, and Code Catalyst as well. So once you download this extension, you need to connect to a AWS Builder account so that you can get access to all the AWS features. There are two main extensions you will get. One is an Amazon Q as well as an AWS, which will contain the Code Whisperer. Let me show you the Amazon Q. It's almost work in the same line like your GitHub Copilot. You could ask for help or you could clear a section. I'm going to ask a very basic question to Amazon Q. Add two numbers. Let's see the response from Amazon Q. It actually gives me an output from Python. It actually gives me the source of code as well. If you're wondering why it gave me the Python output, the simply because one of my Python file was open and it used that particular intelligence to generate the Python code for me. It actually gave me the source of the code as well so that I can refer it if needed. And it actually gave me any follow-up questions as well, which I want to ask Amazon Q later. So now we are clear with what the Amazon Q can do it for us. Let's look at the Amazon Code Whisperer. So it has 4 different sections. First, we'll go to the land section. So there are 3 main things in the code section. The first one is a code suggestion. So I'm going to click and try an example here. This is a good GenAI feature which is useful in actually generating test data. So I can just put a tab, it can actually generate unique test data for me every time I actually go to the new line. There is no need to get a external library or get a data from Google in order to do it. This is a very good GenAI feature which can be used to generate synthetic data on demand. Again, the shortcut is Option plus C unless until it's interfering with your IDEs. One of the major features Amazon is giving us is generating the unit test cases. So this is a simple Python function which is written. It's actually trying to add 2 numbers. So once it tries to add the 2 numbers, I can just say, write a test case for this above function and press Option C. It will actually generate all the different unit test cases for us. Again, great feature. We hope developers will use it for improving their unit test coverage as well. Let's look at some of the scenarios which we can cover using Code Whisperer as well. Again, it works almost similar to Copilot as well. You need to write a comment in place. Just press Option C. it generates a function for us. Let's look at if we can generate it or not. The code whisperer intelligence is working. I am pressing option C again. The code whisperer is using its intelligence to generate the function for us. Let's look at the second feature which we have with the extension, which is again a code scan. Let me run a code scan. I have hard-coded a password into my file in order to demonstrate this feature. So when we are actually doing some kind of upgrades, library changes, we might run into the security issues. So the code scan has given me a result. It actually detected a hard-coded credentials. Let's look at what it's going to suggest to us. It actually gave me a suggestion, just like your IntelliSense. Okay, you should use a env in order to keep this password. Not only it provided me a particular quick fix, it is also giving me few recommendations as well. Please manage your secrets using environment variables. Thanks, Code Whisperer. You use AWS Secrets Manager to store, rotate, and monitor secrets. Thanks, AWS. I'll give it a try as well. So this way, we can actually resolve the issues much more a faster way. It has got a very powerful feature of answering inline questions as well. I can ask Code Whisperer, what is the actual purpose of this Code Whisperer itself? So I got a very good answer. AWS Code Whisperer is a tool that helps developers write better code. Let's look at the second use case, which is again a function name. So let's say if you're a developer and your company is asking to switch between various programming languages, the only thing you know is actually following a specific naming convention for your function. So now I want to load a CSV file from S3. So I finally found out this is a specific syntax in Python, and I wrote the function name. The bucket is the key for the bucket, and the key is the file name. Okay, I press the tab, the whole code is there for you. You don't need to worry about anything. Now, I'm finding it very difficult to read through this code because I'm very new to Python. What you could do, you can actually send this particular code to the Amazon Q chat window itself. Can you please explain this code for me? I don't know what this code is trying to do. Let's look at the Q's intelligence in here. It actually gives me line by line what it's trying to do. The code block is loading a CSV file from Amazon S3 and returning it as a pandas data frame. It is importing using Boto3 library, which allows interacting with AWS services. Let me go to the summary itself, connecting to Amazon S3, downloading a CSV file, loading the CSV data into pandas data frame, and returning the data frame. It actually resolve most of the queries for us very easily. This is how we can actually generate the code as well as understand the code which is coming out from Code Whisperer. Let's look at the third feature, which is again UI tests. As an automation tester, I might be writing so many tests every day to increase the test coverage. And there would be scenarios where your stakeholders might come up and say, now you need to automate some negative scenarios, edge cases, and all. I have written a very simple test in Playwright test and TypeScript. It navigates to the Playwright dev page and verifies that the header is actually visible. So now I'm in a position to actually add negative scenarios to this test case. So I'm going to say, send to Amazon Q. This scenario tend to give some hallucination, but I'll give it a try. Add negative tests. Let's see the power of Code Whisperer. It actually gave me a simple negatives as well. You could do some failure scenario. So let's see what it has done. It actually gave me a test where when the heading is not visible, when we loaded the page initially. I think this test may not be useful, so I'm not going to use that test in the IDE. So this is a place where you should use your coding knowledge and the testing skill to understand the responses from this chatbot and use it in your code. Let's look at the next use case, which is again infrastructure as a code. So for those who are new to Terraform or CDK, let's say if you want to create cloud resources in AWS, Azure, or GCP, you could do that through UI, or you could do that through the code. The popular tools out there are Terraform and CDK, which will help us to write the code in IDE which gets converted to AWS CloudFormation, and that's get executed as an API in the AWS, which to create a resources. It's good for version control. It's good for creating the resources across various environments. And we use Terraform a lot inside Terra as well. So now, once we started writing Terraform, let's say if you are coming from a non-Terraform background, you might find the syntax is a bit different. It actually uses JSON or HCL in order to write the code. Now, I don't know what is the syntax of AWS S3 bucket versioning. I just write a comment on top of the block and the press option C. Code Whisperer is going to generate the code for you on your behalf. It has got a very good support for CDK as well. Now we have seen through what it helps us in doing through the IDE. Let's look at what are its capabilities from a command line as well. So for this particular command line to work, you need to download the Code Whisperer CLI. I'm going to do a health check on my Code Whisperer. I'm going to say CW doctor. It actually enabled the auto prompts for me. It's running the health check. Health checks are working fine. I'm very good. Let's say as a tester, I have a scenario where I want to copy my test results to S3 at the end of every test run in the CI pipeline. I'm not sure about the AWS CLI commands. I'm going to say copy my files to S3. It actually went ahead and generated the shell script for me. You could execute the command, or you edit the command. You could regenerate the answer, or you could ask another question. Okay, I got this question's answer correctly. I want to get another answer. I want to delete my test results directory, which is again a popular use case in test automation. It actually gave me a remove command. So if you look at the command, actually it gave me a warning as well. Again, this is a destructive command, and all the destructive commands comes up with a warning so that you can use it with caution. I'm going to ask another question which is related to the Git actually. So every day we run some basic Git commands, and some days, which is very unfortunate, you might run into some issues and you don't know how to revert a Git commit. I can just ask Code Whisperer, can you please revert my Git commit for me? It actually generated the code for me. You could execute the command if required, or you could cancel this particular CLI as well. These are the very core features which is provided by Code Whisperer. Let's look at the extension again. So we have seen through Amazon Q, we have seen through the Code Whisperer. Explorer is a very good capability which is provided by AWS. So if you have seen through the AWS UI, you have access to various resources like Lambdas, S3s, based on your roles and permission. Let's say if you can get the same access in CLI, how would that be look like? If I connect this with my AWS account, I can see through all the AWS resources in here according to the hierarchy. Again, you don't have to worry about your roles and permissions. Whatever role which you have through UI, you will get the same access in the CLI as well. As I said, it provides inbuilt support for CDK. It has support to switch between various environments using Code Catalyst as well, which I don't have a demo at the moment. And if you have seen through the whole demo, the most of the features are in line with the Copilot and all the other popular coding assistants there as well. Some of the features which should be missing would be like maybe a PR summary which is there in Copilot, or maybe you might see one of two features in Google as well, in the Google coding assistants as well, which is a bit unique. Again, this is something which is coming free, of course, so feel free to give it a try. Let me go back to the slides again. We have seen through the coding assistants. Let's look at the key differentiation between what is RPA and AI. People tend to use RPA and AI quite interchangeably also. People think that, okay, the robotic process automation is also AI, but these are two different substreams. RPA, also known as software robotics, uses automation technologies to perform repeated office tasks. Classic examples like sending reminders to your insurance customers for insurance renewal towards the year end. So this could be automated very easily using any process automation libraries. UiPath, Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere, they are all very good examples. You might be seeing these days, actually, they are trying to power RPA tools with AI as well. That process is called intelligent process automation. The UiPath has released few features like Clipboard AI, which make use of that AI features. Let's look at the key differences between RPA and AI. RPA focuses on automating repeated rule-based tasks. AI focuses on mimicking human intelligence and performing tasks that requires learning, adaptation, and some form of judgment. RPA has got limited learning capability. It depends on whatever configuration we put through the code or the tool we configured. AI has got strong learning capability. RPA is suitable for highly structured tasks. AI has got capability to handle unstructured data like text, images. These days, AI can even generate movies as well on demand. Now we have seen what's the key differences between RPA and AI. Let's look into the tester's favorite topic for the day, which is Postbot. So for those who are not across Postbot and Postman, Postman is a simple tool for API testing, which is used by developers and testers. They have got a simple desktop application. They got a web application as well as it got a popular ID in VS Code as well. The AI behind Postbot leverages machine learning models to help you write documentation, generate tests, as well as in designing flows. So if you go to the desktop or web application, on the bottom right corner, you will see a Postbot icon, which will enable the chatbot for you. Again, this makes use of the major segment of AI, which is called machine learning, in order to generate the features for us. One of the most important queries which people used to have is, does Postman make use of my data in order to train their machine learning models? The answer is no. It just makes use of your structure of your API in order to train their machine learning models. So Postbot releases and available plans. So this is available almost for 1 year now. It's released in May 2023. It's available as an add-on to free, basic, and professional plans. It isn't available in your enterprise level plan yet. So let's say if you are an organization which has a Postman Enterprise available, you could actually join their early access waitlist so that you can actually get access to Postbot as well. Now, what's the problem this Postbot is going to solve us actually? Again, as I mentioned in initial slides, it's actually trying to reduce some operations for the customer care from a chatbot perspective. From an automation testing or a simple testing perspective, it's actually trying to reduce the load which you are actually doing through creating repeated test cases using Postman, maybe making manual mistakes as well. Core features which I found was documentation, test generation, generating the specialized tests like security, fixing any broken test cases. You can visualize the responses. You can build the flows using Postman. You can actually navigate to the Postman Learning Center. You can generate tests on a collection level. It actually enables auto suggestions for you in your editor as well. Let's look at Postbot in action. So I'm going to my Postman. For the purpose of the demo, I created a simple collection using Postman Jobs API. So collection will hold a set of requests. I am making use of Postman's public API called Jobs. So if you're not across this API, I'm sending a simple GET request to this API to get a specific result from the Jobs API. It's going to give me the company, location, country, as well as the title of the job. It has few jobs listed across the world, remote, US, and all. Now, one of the first use case which I'm going to show is documentation. So now, as I mentioned, the Postbot icon is here down below. You click on it, it opens up the chatbots for you. I'm going to ask, let me generate the documentation for me, Postbot for me on my behalf. You will see this generate chatbot with chatbot icon, or you can use the Postbot to access the documentation. I clicked on generate Postbot. If you look at the specific result, it actually says the endpoint made an HTTP GET request to retrieve a set of jobs. Yeah. The response will be in JSON. And it contains job ID, title, creation date, company, and all. This is a very helpful feature when you are actually building APIs and changing few of the fields as well. You can cross-check back, okay, if this is the actual response which I'm getting actually in a future date. Now we generated the documentation using Postbot. Let's look at the second feature, which is actually the most powerful feature in Postman, which is actually test generation. I'm going to say add test to this request. The Postman has generated few test cases for me. Let me validate the test cases first actually. It actually gave me a response status 200 test case. So for those who are not across the Postman test actually, so Postman uses JavaScript to write the test cases in its Postman UI. You make use of the PM object in order to generate the test cases, similar to our JavaScript and TypeScript test blocks or int blocks. And Postman has got a CLI called newman, which will help us to schedule these test cases as well. The first test case is a very generic test case which uses status code 200. The response has got required fields. Very nice. ID is non-empty. URL is in a very valid format. And unfortunately, the date format test case has failed. If you look at this test actually, it's actually trying to check for a very specific UTC format in the date. And if you are a very frequent user of Postman, and you might be aware that Postman uses moment library to handle some of the date formats. Currently, this feature is not available in Postbot. So either you could write a custom script in order to handle that particular scenario for now, or you could disregard this test case for time being. Now we generated 5 custom test cases. Now I'm going to look at, okay, why don't it generated a test for the scheme actually? So which is a very common test case which is written by all the automation testers out there. So I'm going to say, I want a custom test case for a schema of the particular response as well. Let's look at the intelligence of the Postbot. It actually generated a specific schema automatically, and it's actually trying to validate the schema as well. So if you can see down here, once it generated the test, it actually run one test cycle as well, so that it's making sure that it's working fine. This is the power of custom test cases which can be generated using Postman. You could ask inline questions as well. Okay, I want to write a test case where the performance of the response should be under 1000 milliseconds. The Postbot is going to do the magic and generate the test cases for you. One of the most popular feature which I like in Postbot again is fixing up of the test cases. As a human, we make a lot of mistakes. And one of the popular mistake which normally makes is changing the status codes here and there. I believe that I am more intelligent than Postbot, and I actually wrote a test case making sure that the status code is 201 actually. And I'm trying to hit the test runs. Maybe if you have 1 or 2 test cases, you may not notice it. But if you are writing like 100 test cases, you might find it very difficult to handle these errors. Now I can come back and say, fix the test cases for me. Let's look at the magic of the Postbot. It actually works on the test case and fixes the test cases for you. Again, as I mentioned, the date format test case is currently not supported, so it's not being corrected. It's actually auto-corrected the test cases for you. And it actually run a CA flow to make sure that they are working fine. Now we've seen individual Postman-related, request-related tests. Let's look at what are the features which are available from a reporting side. So now we saw the Postman jobs is going to give us a response in JSON format. It's going to give me a raw response as well, it's required. I want to use this response for some reporting purposes. I'm going to say I want to visualize this response, and I'm going to give a parameter like table. Let's see Postbot in action. It went ahead and generated a table for me. So let's look at the magic again. It's a very simple JavaScript code which is written to convert the JSON into an HTML table in the test block. So every time when we execute a test run, it actually executes the test cases, as well as it generates the table for me in a very nicer format. Now we have seen what are the capabilities available on an individual request level. Let's look at something called flows. So if you are new to Postman and flows, Flows is a very helpful feature which will help us to visualize some of the responses from Postman in pie charts, bar graphs, or it's helpful in internally enterprises for data generations as well. So I'm getting an output in a bar chart. I'm getting an output in a gauge format for wind speed as well as temperature. So let me look at a job flow which I have designed. And very fortunately, this flow is not working. So let me explain what I'm trying to do in this flow. I'm trying to get all the job titles which I'm getting from the jobs API from Postman in the outcome so that I can use it as a test data for my future test cases. I'm going to send a very basic request to the Postman's jobs API. If it is failing, log the response to the console. If it is succeeding, perform a particular scripting on this particular flow. I'm going to try put an evaluate block, which is actually going to do a scripting for me. Again, the power of Postbot comes in here, where we can actually give a prompt in a natural language way, which will actually generate a particular a script for me. I said generate the flow query. For me, it actually tried to parse the jobs body and generated the title. Currently this flow is not working. If I run it properly, you could see a particular JSON response for all the job titles out there. This is very helpful when you are actually dealing with a lot many test data and you want to customize the kind of test data to be used for any particular testing as well. Now we have seen individual flow level features, individual request level features. Let's look at what Postman is going to offer us in a collection level actually. So collection, as I said, it's a collection of individual requests which Postman is holding. So I got 3 requests in here, and I just going to want to go blindly and say I want to generate tests for all the Postman requests which is under my Postman jobs collection. I'm going to say generate the test for me. Let me take away a few tests which is there in the collection. And normally, I think these tests are already generated. I'm not able to remove them now. You will see a generate test button, which will automatically generate lot many test cases for you on your behalf. So now since these tests are auto-generated, I can just see through and see, okay, this is a test which I need. Okay, the response status is 200. I need this test. You can add this test if you want, or you could delete this test as well. So you might be getting some test cases which are around individual fields which you may not need. You can actually remove the test case. If you look through the whole test which is generated using this generate test feature, most of them follows a common structure actually. Most of them checks for response status, it checks for individual fields, or it checks for some valid formats in the particular fields which are coming out from the responses. Again, it makes use of the structure of your API in order to generate the test cases for you. It doesn't make use of the data which is given out from our enterprises in order to learn or train the machine learning models. And another feature which normally people tend to face issues with is getting writing the titles of the test cases as well. So this feature and the generate test is also in beta. So once you start writing the test case name, you will get auto prompts actually to complete the test case name as well. So this feature is also getting developed by the Postman team. And finally, you could ask a question to its help center as well. I want to say, I don't know anything about these monitors. I want to know more about monitors actually. So what is the Postbot will try to do? It will actually query the Postman Learning Center and give out a very good documentation for you so that you can use it on demand. So these are the very core features Postbot has been providing, and this is very helpful in reducing some of the day-to-day operations which you are doing in generating and rewriting some of the structure-related test cases which you are having Postman. I'm going to go back to the slides again. Now we have seen the Postbot usage, let's look at the last topic for the day, which is prompt engineering. So prompt engineering is a relatively new discipline which is used for developing and optimizing prompts to efficiently use large language models. So you might be familiar with ChatGPT, and as an automation tester, I'm going to give a prompt to ChatGPT. I want to write UI test for google.com. So you might be knowing the common answer the ChatGPT is going to give you is, okay, a test which is written in Selenium Java. So I haven't asked for Selenium Java. Why did it give me the output in Selenium Java? So the answer is you could have asked for a much more context as well. For a React-based web application, I want to migrate my tests from Cypress to Playwright, for which I need a Playwright test and TypeScript using a page object model. This is going to give you a very refined response so that you can use it for your testing purposes. Again, on a personal note, sometimes in my home, my wife asked me to go and buy apples from the grocery shops. Okay, I took the car, I went to the grocery shop, I picked up a few apples and came back home. Now the question comes in, why did you bought this apple? These are not too sweet. I need much more sweeter apples. Now my response would be, you didn't told me this, you want much more sweeter ones. The second question which is going to come is, I need much more ripe I don't need much more ripe apples. You should have bought much more raw ones so that it will last much more days. The third question which is going to come is, it is costing $5. Why did you bought it today? You could have waited for a sale to come through in order to buy it. Again, this is how we actually querying the ChatGPT. It will act like a dumb husband which is not able to give a response back, proper response back to the wife. So you need to provide proper context and information so that it can give you a refined response. Again, you need to improve your prompt engineering skills. In order to do that, it's very good to actually master something called a prompt formula. This is very helpful, which I found from technology point of view. And if you are a non-technical person also, this is developed by a person called Jeff Su. So he has given few items on descending order of their priority. The first and the major item which is required is task. So I want to write tests for google.com. Second is the context. For a React-based web application, I want to migrate the test from Cypress to Playwright. For an upgrade, I want to move from Java 8 to Java 17. Exemplar is much more important when you are actually writing your resume. Let's say if you are writing your resume and you have 10 achievements and you don't know how to represent that in your resume, Exemplar will help you to put your success achievements in a tabular format. The persona is much more important. So who you are as a software developer in test, as a marketing manager, as a chief executive officer, the format of the outcome. So sometimes you ask ChatGPT, I want to get 10 random ABNs so that I can use it for my end-to-end testing from Salesforce to MVSI. Now it's going to give some random ABNs using commas or dots. You could say, I want to get some random ABNs in tabular format or in JSON. Then it's going to give you a refined outcome. Finally, tone is much more essential. So if you are using ChatGPT to write or any other GPT assistants, chat assistants like Bard or Gemini, the tone is much more important. Let's say if you're writing a professional email to a hiring manager, you could say, I want to write it in a professional tone. Let's say if you are writing an email to your colleague, I want to write it in a witty tone. So if you follow this prompt formula, it's actually going to be a very refined outcome for you. Again, prompt engineering is another area which I found testers could be much more beneficial in. Most of the large language models out there are actually solely tested by developers or product managers. So if testers are involved in actually testing these large language models, which could be more beneficial to the companies out there. So we could use our testing mindset, product knowledge, testing experience in order to refine some of the outcomes which are actually given by large language models so that we can minimize the number of hallucinations. And on a personal space, if you are using ChatGPT, don't use it like a search engine. Make sure that you master a prompt formula and start using it in such a way that it actually going to give you a refined response, so that it actually doesn't waste your time a lot, actually similar to chatting to Google, getting a request and a response. And finally, the key takeaways from the today's topic would be chatbots must be tested like any other products, else it will result in hallucination, reputation losses, as well as financial losses as well. Code Whisperer helps developers to complete tasks 57% faster. It's free for personal use. Good things always come for free. Feel free to give it a try. Postbot can be leveraged to generate test documentation and flows in order to save time so that you can be productive in another activities where your critical presence is required. Keep improving your prompt engineering skills to get effective results from large language models. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask now. I thank you all for taking your time for attending this session. Feel free to connect me on my LinkedIn as well.
Thank you so much. What a great talk. We got a lot out of that. Please give a round of applause for Jithin. Would you be able to answer a few questions? The Q&A section?
Yeah.
All right, thanks. If you've got any questions, and this includes people both who are watching via YouTube and people who are watching on Zoom, please, if you have any questions to ask Jithin, please do so in the chats. So we have a live LinkedIn, live YouTube chat that's currently running, and we also have the meeting chat on Zoom. I'll just kick off a question while everyone's writing theirs, if you don't mind. A question I want to ask is, when you decided to pick on Amazon Q, Code Whisperer, what made you choose that over the other tools that are on the market, say over GitHub Copilot, or some of the ones that were mentioned previously, such as Codium and Cursor IDE? What factors did you have in your mind when you selected a particular I suppose the is code-based code AI Copilot type tool?
See, the Code Whisperer is beneficial when it actually powered with Amazon Q. So the Code Whisperer was already there in the market for around last 1 to 2 years now. They were actually mostly in beta, if I remember correctly. So 4 months back, they released Amazon Q. And when the power of Amazon Q is combined with Code Whisperer, it actually makes it a very helpful tool. Actually, the code transfer is the much of the standing out capability, which I can say, which would be used by developers actually in order to make sure that the upgrades are going fine, which I didn't see it in the other coding assistant. The second and most important feature is its compatibility with the AWS ecosystem. If you have seen through the some of the demos which I made, there is an Explorer section which even the Code Whisperer is providing, where you can actually connect to AWS and see through the things which you have in the UI as well. So most of the enterprises would be having concerns around, okay, now this Copilot or your AWS Code Whisperer is actually using your data for any training the models and all. So again, the business plans doesn't use the data, but the personal plans, they make use of the data for training.
Okay.
And its compatibility with your AWS ecosystem, that's what it's making it more powerful, because whatever roles you configure it in the UI, let's say in production, I have AWS read role, I can just see through whatever things which I can see in production in my ID as well. So you don't have to switch between AWS or any other ecosystem. And some features I did see in Copilot, which is much more useful, like a PR summaries and all. I think again we would see quite a bit of competition between these coding assistants going forward in the future as well.
Thanks. I know that we were looking at different coding assistants or Copilot type assistants, and we wanted to wait until it was good, until say at least Google Copilot had moved on to ChatGPT 4, because we saw a much better quality of results with 4 than we saw on ChatGPT 3, but it costs more, and they hadn't yet moved across. So obviously there's a cost aspect to this. Did you have any problems or any challenges in convincing the team to spend money, for these tools, for additional licenses, and how did you manage to convince them? If you didn't have any, if it was a very easy conversation, that's fine. Just let us know.
Yeah. So in my personal space, I tried out Tab 9, GitHub Copilot, and Code Whisperer actually. Again, Tab 9 and Copilot, after 28 days, actually, we need to make the payment so that we can renew the license. So that's why I finally stick with the Code Whisperer. From a professional side, we are actually trialing out GitHub Copilot in my company.
Okay.
And we got few licenses in place, and we are actually doing a security review as well internally to see how much we can make use of it. Again, since this is a enterprise level plan which we are making use of, it can be used to learn from our existing code bases as well. Convincing wise, I didn't find much issues. I think most of the developers, the SDETs which I talked to, most of them are already using Copilot. But I think the Google one, which Alan has told, the Code Whisperer, I don't see not many people using it actually. And we had quite a bit of issues when it comes to upgrades. Actually, this is something which normally I do see in a lot of the large enterprises out there. They tend to upgrade their older Java versions to new version. People tend to upgrade their .NET versions, and people tend to migrate some of their old system from Windows to Linux. These are the places where this Amazon queue is much more beneficial. And I saw one feature which is beneficial for test management as well. Amazon queue can be connected to our Jira as well. So let's say at some point you can actually pull out the information from Jira, the bug reports, the test cases, and put out in a dashboard as well. So again, it's coming up in one ecosystem rather than moving away from AWS to any other providers. If you are already using AWS, it's a very better option to move into Code Whisperer as well.
Okay, yeah. Cool, thanks. So we use AWS, so it's a conversation I'll have with my CTO. Okay, about procuring a tool like that. Okay, I just had a question from Nick. One of the concerns I have around code assistant AI models is the security around feeding those models with proprietary code. There's documented occurrences of proprietary code being leaked after engineers use ChatGPT on their code bases, Samsung being such an example. What are some steps that testers, developers could take to reduce these risks, alleviate their concerns?
Great question, Nick. So these are some of the challenges of these chatbots or coding assistants. Security, privacy, bias. If you're actually following the AI developments, US government has actually developed an AI policy. Internally in our company, we have a specific AI policy on what are the steps which you can make use of while using this chat assistants or coding assistants. I think some of the custom enterprise
Sorry, let
level.
me mute that. Sorry, carry on, Jithin. There was a bit of noise in the background.
Yeah, sure. Again, I think in some of the custom enterprise level plans which you have actually, they have got a way to actually monitor some of these changes. Again, usage of tool is again individual related. Again, as I said, once you get an outcome from the code, Amazon Q or Code Whisperer, it clearly shows you from where that code has been generated from. So make use of your knowledge, common sense in order to start using this tool and make sure that the outcome from the code is being used correctly also when you actually try to scan through this code bases. And again, it's good to use a business or enterprise level plan. As per Microsoft and AWS, in their enterprise and business level plans, they don't actually make use of any your company data or proprietary data in order to train the models. They only make use of our code bases in order to train the models, and we can make use of them in order to get answers for the questions as well. So the Samsung could have avoided this issue if they could have been in an enterprise level plan, and there was a proper AI policy which is developed by the Chief Information Security Officer, just like we have at Tero.
Great stuff. Excellent. Nick says thank you. Thank you. Are there any other questions? We've reached the point in the night where if you want to pose a question, you can also unmute yourself and ask the question. So does anybody else have any questions for Jithin?
Just a quick one, Jithin. Hi, it's Liam. When you were using Postman and you tried to perform the correction on the test, looking at the response code, Like, what is the certainty that actually you should fix the test rather than actually fixing the API? Or maybe, because I don't know, like in most cases, when you're writing tests, the API is still in development process. No, you're not writing tests for static API, which in production.
Yeah, this is a challenge which we are facing as well. Let's say when the changes comes through, again, we need to keep changing. One of the recent releases, I saw a simple feature where Postman actually gives a comment as well on the top. This test is fixed using Postbot. In that way, I can just go back to my test case and do a manual verification. Again, this is where as a tester or we need to use our testing knowledge and testing mindset and review this outcome from Postman. It just saves your time in writing the test case, but again, a manual review is still required. If I look through the options which I've shown when I run the test case, I went ahead and actually verified the test cases. What are these test cases? I manually went through and verified manually whether this status code is returning correctly and all. And there could be cases where it could actually fix a test which is against your business rules as well. In that case, that's where you should use your manual you should do a manual verification on the test, and you could use this comments probably in the future in order to make sure that you are actually going and verifying against a test which is fixed by Postman also. Hope
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Are there any other questions of people? Sorry, first of all, did that answer your question, Leon?
Yes, yeah, all good. Thank you.
All right, cool. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Jithin? Just unmute yourself or put it in the chat. Okay, so first I will go through some nice messages that have been read out. First of all, Daniel Moon says, "Thank you, Jithin. Was a very informative session." So thank you, Daniel. Bansari said, "Thank you, Jithin. Amazing and informative session." Marion said the same thing. "Thank you, Jithin, for conducting the fantastic session." Nilam said, "Very informative. Thanks, Jithin." Dash said, "Thank you, Jithin. This was an informative session." And Nil Nair said, "Great presentation, Jithin. Your insights were awesome. Thanks for sharing." So once again, another round of applause to Jithin. Great talk. This talk is being recorded. The live stream link that I posted on Meetup and LinkedIn will keep this meetup posted. The whole recording of the meetup up in perpetuity, so you can always refer to that. I do want to quickly go over our future events again because I made a mistake previously. Do you mind if I just share my screen, Jithin? Is that all right?
Yeah.
And it'll be very brief. There's actually Mithun who points out the mistake that I made, so I just want to deal with this quickly. All right, so as I said, our future events are the 19th of March. They're both in person, both in Sydney. Hemant Oya talking about empowering innovation software testing, the art of crafting personal test strategies, and that's the meetup link for it. We haven't yet posted the meetup for the link for the next event because we're still planning the panel discussion, but actually the event in April with Anne-Marie Charette is on the 17th, not the 19th. So that was a mistake that I previously made. I wanted to clarify that. We'll let you know about that as soon as we've in the next well, basically over the next week, as soon as we've confirmed the panel discussion delegates, the panelists. Anyway, so that's that. Let me just stop sharing my screen. If there are no more questions, then I will wrap up tonight's event. Jithin, can you stay around for a few more minutes? Is that all right? But I just want to say thank you all for coming. It's been an absolute pleasure. This is our most well-attended event of the past year. And I'm glad that you all got something out of it. Jithin did a great talk. Jason said thank you. Mithun said thank you. and we've all got something out of this. I will be going to my boss saying what tools we need, and and your talk has greatly influenced me in that. Mithin says, "Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much." Thanks. I'm just a host and the guy who runs the meetup. It's the speakers and the audience who make it. I look forward to meeting as many of you as can attend the in-person event later on this month. And thank you all for coming. Have a great night, everyone. I'll stop the live stream as well.